doing whatever it is we wanted to do, and we stay in our current state because that's what we know and we're comfortable with it. And even though we may not be happy with that, at least we know what we're getting. Whereas when you go to the other side, it's scary, you're not sure, you don't know what could possibly happen, you might lose everything, and so you stay status quo. And the reality is that fear is something that you created yourself. Because there's nothing out there that could be so bad that you can't get over anyway. And to be able to go past that fear and realize what's on that other side is phenomenal. You know, I'm sorry, I'm monopolizing here. I just thought about a situation where, you know, I have a really good friend of mine that works with me, and she was saying that I work too much, and that she would never do the work, you know, all the work that I do. And meanwhile, I don't see this work. I love what I do. You know, but she said my time is really important to me, so you know, I prefer to spend it, you know, traveling or just, you know, spending time with my friends and family. And all I thought was, but if you put that extra effort to get to a place where you can take 3 months off and never have to worry about money ever again, that's a completely different freedom and lifestyle. I choose to do what I do. Speaking, doing all these things, events, and helping people. I'm on top of the world. I'm actually very introverted. I know it's hard to believe. But I love to be alone and doing my own thing, but this is what I love to do. And so if you really are able to step outside that and recognize, yeah, there may be some risks, but what you get back is your greatest life. There's no question. So, you know, it's important to go out there and do things that scare you every single day, period.
I really like that. Well said, Sonia. Stephanie, would you like to weigh in on that?
I think another thing that a lot of people can easily fall into a trap of is actually mislabeling what their fear really is and what is holding them back. Because a lot of times what will happen is let's say many of you sitting in this audience are working a 9-to-5 job, and the fear is leaving that steady paycheck or that steady income that you have. However, that may not really be the actual fear, and as you're looking at working on that or identifying that, as you drill down further, what you may indeed find is that it's really not a fear of losing that paycheck or a fear of that security, but instead you start to process and say, okay, well, if I don't have to get up tomorrow morning, does that mean no one needs me? Have I actually lost my value to this world? Because my value is based around, again, a paradigm of showing up somewhere from 9 to 5 and being relied on to perform a certain set of duties or tasks in which you exchange for a paycheck at the end of the week. Well, when that's taken away from you and you have the opportunity to be employed by yourself and be the only employee in your business, who do you then answer to, and who is relying on you, and how do you define your self-worth in that situation? So that's just one example, but it's an example of how when you are looking at working on your fears and limiting beliefs, that oftentimes you have to drill down further past what may seem like the surface of what it is that you're fearful of, and get a little bit further down, because until you get further down, you may not actually be working on the thing that's holding you back.
Very good. Excellent stuff. Thank you. Very good. Let's hold our applause, because everything that these folks say is going to be brilliant. But so we're going to have to, let's just give a big applause at the end, okay? Because we do want to stay on time. Nigel.
Yeah, couple of thoughts. If you want to overcome fear, the first thing to do is to fly Air India. Well, there's no question. If you want to overcome fear, get on that plane and then just go down the runway, and you learn to pray. You learn to everything. Your whole life will pass before your eyes. But anyway, take an example. Let's say you have a child of your own, maybe 10 years old or something. You've let the child go out with friends, And so the child's going out, and the child's due back at 8 o'clock at night. 9 o'clock, child hasn't come home. You ask yourself what's going on inside. This is an example. You can translate this into other areas. You start to get some feelings. You realise what the feelings are. 10 o'clock. How are you feeling? You know, a little bit concerned. 11 o'clock. The phone calls are going out. 12 o'clock. You've got the police involved. 1 o'clock. Kid walks in the door. Something happened. The car broke down. The parents brought him back. Your first reaction, no doubt, is probably scream at the kid, give them a hard time. And you've got to look at what's going on there. Because this is the emotional state of fear. You're projecting onto the child the deepest issue in your life, which is the fear of loss. And what you're representing there is the fear of loss of the child, and the child represents part of you, and what the child inherently within you represents is loss of love. And whenever we get into a state of fear, that's because love is threatened by our insecurities of who we are and what we are. And I guess in that context, the real issue is to learn to walk into the story, to actually walk into it and experience it. I'll just give you a quick analogy here. During the time of the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, which is a sacred Indian writing, there is a time when Lord Krishna and his closest relative, for the want of a better term, Arjun, are having a dialogue. And Arjun he's petrified about moving into this state of war, because he's thinking to himself, you know, I can't go into war because on one side of the equation over here, there's two sides to the army. He sees his uncles, his brothers, his cousins, his sisters, his teachers, his grandparents, his great-grandparents, his gurus. He sees everybody. And Krishna says to him, what's wrong? He says, well, you know, I can't do that, Krishna. I can't possibly confront this and go to war. He said, why? Are you frightened? He said, yeah, well, it's just, I'll be killing my own people. And then Krishna just opens the entire vortex of reality, shows him the whole cosmos, and he sees that every one of those beings is actually part of himself. And then he says, you come here for a reason, do what you came here for. It is your duty. And remember this, and this was his point, you will only experience fear if you are the doer. If you are not the doer, there is no fear. So what you do is you surrender to the moment of being in that eternal place of love, which is what we addressed just a moment ago, and you move in that space, not as the doer, but as allowing that whichever you are confronting as a fear to be addressed, because you are not doing it. It is being done through you. So confront the flying on Air India, confront the child which is experiencing the issue, or confront the paycheck. It's all about love. It is all about love. And the fear, at the end of the day, that you will lose your own self.
Wow, I love that you bring in the Bhagavad Gita, because I studied that in college and I don't get to talk about it very much, so this is really great. And that, being a religious studies major, if you look in the dictionary, it's like the #1 way how to not make money. So I really appreciate it. Bring that in. Okay, so Nigel, I want to start off with you, but before I do that, with the next question, before I do, I just want to say, can I touch your hair? You just got, your hair is awesome. I just want to touch it. It's so, I always wanted hair to bounce like that. I can't my hair, it doesn't move. I love that. I'm so jealous. I love it. It goes like that on the hair. I love that. Anyway, oh well. Never gonna get that, so I just touch it. Okay, now we're moving on. All right, so let's talk about failure.
Was that a blessing?
I can certainly say that. I am a saint, so I am canonized, so now you're good. Okay, moving on. So let's talk about a very related topic, which is failure. Okay, and isn't it kind of obvious that what most of us are very afraid of is, of course, failure, right? And failure. So Nigel, can you talk about the greatest personal shift that you've had when it comes to this topic of failure? Because I'm pretty sure all of us here on stage, and Anik would agree, we've all failed at different times in our life. We talked about it in our respective programs. But But many people fail, we all fail, but many people don't come back from that. They stay down forever, beat themselves up, and so forth. So what was your greatest personal shift? Could you share that with us when it comes to this topic?
That's a corny one, that's a tricky one. Yeah,
that's fine.
This is why I go back to Sonia for the past. We've all got one past. You know, the greatest, I mean, when I think of failure, I have to say, now I'm talking at a personal level, I haven't entertained that. And one of the reasons I haven't entertained it is because I was very blessed as a child. And this does make a difference. There's no question your environment affects who you become. And my initial experience as a child was, I go to school and I was not in the slightest bit interested. Not in the slightest bit interested in anything but playing soccer. Soccer and athletics. And then one day my soccer coach gave me a lift home, which was very kind of him. But then he sat there and he waited until my parents came home. So now we get fear because he wants to speak to them. And what he did, he laid out all of my examination results. And I failed everything. I don't think I passed anything actually. I got good marks in sport, and that was it. And he was sitting there, and I didn't know, see, because he had to report ahead of time. And then by the time my father got home and my mother was there, I was like, this is good. And then he says, I'm just going to tell you what your son's been doing. And I go, good, what? Nothing. And of course, that was for my father, who was a working class, hard-working guy who migrated from England to Australia, had nothing, so the whole scenario was there. He then told me, better pull your finger out and get some work done. And because I was confronting a failure for him as much as I was for myself, and it was a failure for the soccer coach. So what I did, I had a job as a postman, and I used to go around, cycle around, deliver mail in the Australian sun, and I saved enough money to invest, and this was the age of 15, in a mind training program at the age of 15. And I saw it in the back of one of those like Star magazines, you know, those things. It was, this is in the 60s. And so I bought it, and I said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm going to do some work here. And there was another factor in it. I had completely and totally bombed out in my physics exam so badly that the physics professor wanted me out of the school, basically. So I studied this, and I taught myself everything there was about visualization, imagination, memory, training, focusing, goal setting, etc. at the age of just turning 15. And then I went into the examination. Sat for the exam. My apologies. I failed the first exam. And then he told me, the professor, he said, okay, he said, we're going to sit for the next exam. I sat for it, and I think I got about 85. I was right up there, 85%, from something like about 30. And he looked at me and he said, the guy next to you, I remember his name was Stuart. Not Stuart Little, Stuart. He said, one of you two were cheating. And he said, there's only one person I can think of. And he's looking at me and he said, because you've failed everything you've done. I said, no, what me, sir? Yeah, it has to have been you, because you're the dumb one. Wait a minute. So he said, so you're going to take the exam again? Well, I took it and I got a better mark still. And what I did, because everything, this is what I learned. And I say, and do not use this as an example for any of your kids. I went through all my university year, each year, enjoying myself, and then I took the notes at the end and I pegged, not this peg, but I just pegged and visualized and imagined everything, went in with the idea I would upset as many professors as I could by passing. And so the actual issue of failure was to be able to integrate everything inside your conscious mind, take it inside, work it, create the projection and walk into the story. And when you walk into the story, overcoming failure, it was like failure wasn't an issue. That's it.
So it really happened early for you then?
I'm sure it might have happened when I was younger, many times, but that was the key. To confront the failure was to use these principles very early and walk into the story.
Wonderful. Stephanie, how did you overcome and what was the shift for you to this whole concept of failure, to really be able to overcome that in your own life, your experience?
Well, in some ways, I want to almost take the easy way out and say that I never really have looked at anything that has not worked out as I originally planned as a failure. And that is really literally the only way that I could embrace failure is if I literally failed to take something positive away from any experience that I've gone through for one reason or another. And what I like to say, much the same way that you say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, failure is in the eye of the beholder, and how you determine what happens to you and what you do with that and what you take away from it. I think the only way that you can actually fail, quote unquote, is to fail to take something positive away from anything that happens to you in your life and determine what about that is going to make you stronger and is going to make you a better person, and more importantly, why you were even meant to experience that to begin with. Because if you identify those things, then you put an entirely different new meaning on failure, and you actually embrace failure as something that is providing you with forward momentum and making you a better person.
Very good. Sonia.
Hello? Okay, for me, I believe that failure is ego-based. And so this fear of failure, not failure itself, but the fear of failure is ego-based. So what that means is we fear failing and what that means and what will happen and what will people think and what will I think of myself and all the different circumstances that happen when you fail. And once you get to a place where you really don't care what people think, you'll notice that a lot of the fear of failure is gone. Because, yeah, I'm going to try something, and yeah, I might fail. And so what? I'll try something else. And something else. And like I was saying in my talk, is you try something, you fall down, you get up, you dust yourself off, readjust your path, and move forward. You fall down, you get up, dust yourself off, adjust your path, and move forward. And so it's just part of, it's like as if failure is a bad thing. Failure is just part of life. Like if you really think you're going to go through life and making choices that will only be successful, and that's a successful life, that's never going to be, that's not going to happen. That will be a failure. Because the truth is that you will fail at things, and it's not a big deal. The biggest failure is not trying and not doing the stuff that you really want to do. I think that's the big failure. And you might, the most successful people on the planet have failed way more times than they have succeeded, but when they succeeded really big. And the most successful people out there are the ones that fail the most. Because they kept on trying and trying and trying and trying and trying, and they finally hit it. And the people that are not as successful tried once and gave up. And said, I don't want to fail anymore, so everything's going to be status quo. I'm not really very happy right now, but it's not bad, and I'm not willing to take the risk because I'm afraid. And I think a lot of times the fear is also fear of success, right? That they go together, and it sounds ridiculous. Oh my God, how can anyone be fearful of success? Well, there's a lot of stuff that comes along with success. Your spouse might not handle it very well. The people, your friends, your family might not like you the same way and think, because remember the limiting beliefs around rich people are jerks and all that kind of stuff. That comes up for you too, so you don't want to miss out and lose out on your family and friends, so there's a fear there. But the truth is that, you know what your true purpose and passion is, and if you don't, then I highly recommend going down that path to really learn why you were put on this planet. Everyone in this room has a passion, everyone has a mission, Everyone's been put here, everyone had put here for a reason, and everyone has a unique talent that is brilliant, so you should be going out there and sharing it with the world, whatever that looks like to you. And yeah, you might fail. So what?
Absolutely. Well said. All right, let's take a couple of questions from who's got a burning question?
I do.
You do. Okay, we're going to get to you second, my dear.
I'm right here.
Okay. Okay. How to... Okay. She is an artist, and she... how to walk into story and have an audience. How to have an audience, is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Walk into it. See how I was walking
To walking into it, all right. Alrighty then. That's really what we're talking about in this program, in this event, is about building an audience, right? So that's not really on the topic of overcoming fear.
But it is a fear. It's a fear of success. You know why?
Okay.
And the fear. I'm a starving artist.
Okay.
I'm practicing. I would say again that I'm successful.
Right.
But how do you move into that path?
Okay.
Chance to find the audience and tell your story.
All right.
My answer to that is as soon as you start believing that you're a successful artist is when you'll become successful. Because often, there's such a cliche, I know a lot of artists, and a lot of artists see themselves as starving artists. Why? Because most artists are starving.
Right.
And that doesn't have to be you. And as soon as you step outside of that box and leave all the starving artists behind, and start walking your own path and stepping into your own brilliance and believing in yourself that you are a successful artist and you have brilliant talent to take out into the world, will you start seeing the success that you deserve?
Okay.
Very good. Okay, very good. Does anybody else want to comment on that? Or?
Just in context of what Sonia's saying and in context of your question of walking into the audience, went to the story. You know, if we go back to some of the things that were shared over the last day and a half, one of the primary things pertains to the importance of the attractive element within our being. That we will attract to ourselves that which is who we ultimately are and believe we are. Anything that prevents us from going into our story of being creative artists is but a veil that overshadows the love of who we truly are. And only when we remove those veils can we then shine and see that the audience has always been there, never left us, and waiting for us and ready to greet us. If you take, for instance, a tuning fork at 432 hertz, ring it over here, you've got another one over there that's 432 hertz, that's going to tune in with you. Once you accept the majesty of your own soul, once you accept that every being here is in your creation, is part of your dream, and is created in accordance to show you the reflection of your own beauty, then you will walk straight in, like Sonia said, through that door and into the reflection of the beauty that you already are. And there's nothing that will stop that audience coming to you. Vincent van Gogh proved that.
Good. Well said. All right, very good. Okay, yes.
Two things. First of all, a while back I saw Dwyer and Hicks on Hay House, and their interview about when Hicks was connecting with Abraham and saying, you're not necessarily here for a passion and a purpose, you're here to learn a lesson. The second thing is, has anybody ever talked about, because I've been searching for years what my blocks are, and I've gone through all of the normal ones. The one that I have discovered within the past month or so is I want to live in the emotion of anticipation of success, being recognized, but it's the anticipation. It has.
Okay, so what's your first question? Give me the question in a question form.
Okay, the question is, have you ever dealt with, instead of fear of failure, is wanting to live in that state, emotional state of anticipation?
So you're asking how to get to the emotional state.
No, how to get rid of it so that you can continue on to the rest, because it's my block. I don't want to move past the emotion that I enjoy in the state of anticipation.
I'm not clear on that. Are you guys, does anybody get that? Because I'm still not getting it.
I think it may touch very closely on what I said in the opening, in terms of what you're identifying is the challenge that you're experiencing is not being able to move past the level of anticipation. But what I would put forth is to drill down past that deeper, and that really isn't the fear. It's the fear that you're identifying at the initial top level. But I think that you would need to actually start to drill down and take a look at whether or not you holding yourself out in a place of anticipation is actually keeping you in a perpetual state of never experiencing success or never experiencing failure. So that really the challenge that you're trying to overcome is not the aspect of anticipation, it's still looking at the fear of success or the fear of failure.
In effect, it's like any decision is better than no decision, and a decision to, and I use the word with great caution, a decision to fail is better than a decision to not make a decision, because if you say, oh, bugger it, I'm going to fail, that's a success because you chose it. And then you can say, got that out of the way with, now let me move on. You know, it's a matter of like Stephanie was sharing, it's like we put this, it's serving you. It's serving you. It's the same as, you know, when we look at illness like sickness and cancer, diabetes, it doesn't matter. Everything serves us. When we get to the root cause of what it's serving, in some way, it's keeping us safe. And that safety net is something that all of the speakers here this weekend have been saying, you got to push through that. And when you do, you will never, ever look back. Because there is no back. There is only this moment.
I have a question for you. So when you do achieve a goal in your mind, because it sounds like you're not achieving your goals because you're really stuck in that anticipation, what comes up for you when you visualize yourself achieving that goal?
I can't. There's no emotion and I can't creatively visualize succeeding.
What comes up for you when I say, well, what's the goal? Let's say, give me a new goal that you have.
Starting an online internet business.
And why do you want to do that?
Basically for the multiple streams of income, because
Okay.
you have many products.
Okay. And is that the reason why you want to do it, is just to make money?
No, I think there's also the succeeding. I want to succeed in something because I never really have before.
Okay. There's a few issues around this. So let's imagine that you are attempting to create this online business and you're excited, you're putting it together, the whole fun part of this all is happening, and you launch your first product, it takes off like crazy, and you've made $1 million. Now what?
Go on to the next product.
And back into anticipation. Okay, so what comes up for me when you say that is that the end result is the end.
And it's not as important as that feeling of anticipation.
Sorry?
It's not as important as living in the feeling of anticipation.
The reason I'm asking you all these questions is often what I tell people is when you say you want to make money, the question I always ask is why you want to make money. Because money is just a piece of paper. You know, bank numbers on the bank account or whatever. What's the emotion behind making money that's important to you?
Family.
Okay.
Helping families, supporting family.
Okay. And so there's something inside that anticipation that's not allowing you to Like if you were to achieve that $1 million, for instance, you'd be able to help your family. And something's blocking you from reaching that and achieving that. And I know you're saying that it's the anticipation that I'm stuck in. But you know what comes up for me? Because I have reached goals and I have been successful. There's nothing more exhilarating than achieving your goal and phenomenal success. That journey you're talking about is brilliant. It's important to enjoy it because that's your life, because we're living in the now. But when you actually achieve it, it's incredible because it is a wonderful feeling, but it's fleeting. And it almost sounds like you're afraid of that, like it's the end of the joy, because then I have to start all over again. So let's just be on that treadmill, because it feels good to be on this treadmill. Because unless I eat the carrot, then I have to go look for another carrot. Right? And that is why it's important to always live in the present and understand that that journey is your life. Yes, you have goals. Yes, you want to achieve them. Yes, you know, life is a game. And all there is the present right now. And that's it. And so we get on this treadmill, and there's this carrot in front of us, and we finally achieve this carrot, we eat the carrot, and we're really excited, and we feel good as we're eating the carrot, and then we feel empty again. And we start jumping on another treadmill with another bigger carrot. And we're trying to figure out, I don't understand, life is just, I don't understand it. I still feel unfulfilled. Because you're looking outside of you to achieve that fulfillment. And that's not where it is. It's not on that treadmill at all. That fulfillment is right here, right now, in this moment. It has nothing to do with any of the goals or all the money in the world. And so just look at that, because I think that I can understand that. Now, as I'm talking it out, I'm starting to get it. It's almost like I almost don't want to achieve my goal, because then what? Because then it's over. And that kind of sucks. I have to do this all over again. So just kind of dig deeper in understanding that, because that's all it is a goal. And deep, true happiness and contentment with life and peace truly comes from within. And I know it sounds corny and all that, but if you really do the work, the deep work, it doesn't matter if you're $1 million in debt. It doesn't matter if you weigh 500 pounds. It doesn't matter if you have your soulmate or not. It doesn't matter if you have a beautiful home or not. You can still feel phenomenal and enjoy life. But it'd be nice to do that while you have all this stuff too.
And you know, I want to talk about the importance of mentorship and surrounding yourselves with the right people. Because we're here in this environment, and as Anik mentioned earlier, we are here in the bubble, of possibilities. And that's what, Anik and us are bringing to you is like, okay, it's possible. I can do it. They've done it. Maybe I can do it. But then, come Monday, you're going to be back into that realm that maybe people are going to tell you it's impossible. Are you crazy? There's no way. What are you doing? You're nuts. And so it's hard to do that on your own, to bust through that. So I want to talk, and Stephanie, why don't you kick us off here, about the importance of mentorship, surrounding yourself with the right people will help you achieve your dreams.
Well, I guess probably where I would start with answering that is to say that in terms of you making the selection of bringing me up here, you're holding the three of us out as experts who have attained a certain lifestyle or attained a certain level of business,